class, or all of your, your to-do list, your grocery list, all of the things. Mindfulness is a way to calm those to-do lists, to calm those rushing thoughts, sometimes all of those emotions that we're feeling about things, and kind of tap into more of our observing mind. So the meditation that I'm going to teach you all today is called a Gata. And it is a meditation that links phrases, words, which I'm going to drop in the chat in a minute, to your breath. And so we're going to do the breathing first, and then we'll link the words to it. But it is a way for us to, by linking those together, those words that we're going to be repeating as we breathe in and out, gives our brain something to focus on. It gives it, we like to talk sometimes in meditation about like our brains being this flowing river of thoughts. And we got to like throw out an anchor to pull ourselves kind of back to shore, so that mindfulness is about being able to sit on the banks of that river and just kind of observe all of those thoughts that go by with gentleness and with compassion for ourselves. And so a Gata is a way to kind of give yourself an extra anchor right to that shore, so that when we notice our mind going to go back to thinking just the plethora of thoughts, that we can have another tether to hang on to bring ourselves back to the shore, and then watch again what kind of those thoughts just go by, and release them, and maybe be curious about, why am I having all of these thoughts, some of those sorts of things. So it allows you to have some space between the thoughts that you're thinking and kind of your emotions and yourself, and that space can let us calm down when we're feeling anxious. It can help us focus, like I said before. So just a really great tool. And like I said, it's something that you can take with you anywhere. So today, like I said, we're going to be doing a Gata. And you'll notice maybe as you are doing this with me, those two types of consciousness. So our thinking mind and our observing mind. We spend the vast majority of each of our days locked into our thinking mind. Our thinking minds are always working, they're planning, they're judging, they're evaluating, they're worrying, they're always doing something. And with mindfulness, we really want to strengthen our observing mind, right? Again, that ability to become aware of our sensations and our thoughts and feelings as they arise in the present moment. So our observing mind allows that present moment awareness and some distance, like we said, for the worries, the plans, and judgment, all of that. The problem, though, often is that we use our thinking mind so much more that that's what our brain just kind of naturally wants to go to. And so just like anytime we're going to work out or run a race or any of those kinds of things, we have to train for it, right? We have to practice. And so mindfulness is a way to practice, again, creating that space. A metaphor that I like to kind of use with this one is if we think about a little puppy, right? They are super, super active. They're running all over the place. They're getting into all the things. They're just constant motion, right? But if we give that puppy something to hold on to, something to do, if we throw it a bone, right, then it calms down and it settles. And gatas are kind of like throwing that puppy a bone. Gatas give our brain something to hold on to, something to do, so that our observing mind has a chance to take hold and perhaps grow a little bit stronger. So it allows us to kind of settle into one place and observe, kind of like that puppy again with that bone. So I will say that when I first learned about the Gata, I was kind of skeptical about it. I was like, what is this? But if you can just practice observing with some non-judgment, be open-minded to how it might help you, then you might hear that it really helps you to calm and focus more effectively. So I'm going to lead you through it. And so we'll begin by repeating silently the words that I'm going to put up here, and I'll kind of demonstrate it once. But each time as you breathe in, you will link those phrases to your breath. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the words into the chat so you know what I am talking about. Give me just a minute to paste those in. Okay. So for example, we'll say, I know I am breathing in. And while you say that to yourself, you will be breathing in, right? So I know I'm breathing in, and kind of hold it for a second. And then I know I am breathing out, and you release that breath. On your next in breath, you'll say, I calm my body and my mind. And on your out breath, you'll think to yourself, I smile. And when you think to yourself, I smile, actually smile, you'll notice that it might change how your body feels. And on your next in breath, you'll think to yourself, I dwell in the present moment. And then on your out breath, I know this is a precious moment. Okay, so I will say these for us the first maybe 2 times through. And then I'll let you all do a couple minutes. We'll keep this one short today. But you can copy and paste these words, take them with you wherever you go, and you'll have them, okay? So I want you to find a place where you're comfy. You can sit with your back tall if you'd like to, but just get yourself in a comfy position. You put your hands in your lap, your feet on the ground, whatever's comfortable for you. Feel free to close your eyes if you'd like to. I know many of you have your cameras off, so we can't tell that, but I'm just going to trust that you're doing it. I'm going to keep my eyes open so I can see the words and make sure everything's going okay. But you all feel free to close your eyes. So I want you to take an in breath and see if you can notice the place in your body where you can most easily notice your breath. It may be the tip of your nose. It may be your belly as it rises and falls, but see if you can just spend a moment and notice, where do you feel the sensation of your breath? Allow your awareness to settle on your breath for a few moments. And as you continue to watch your breath, begin to link the lines of the gata to your breathing. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. I calm my body and my mind. I smile. I dwell in the present moment. I know this is a precious moment. So again, in breath, I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. In breath, I calm my body and my mind. I smile, let it out and smile. In breath, I dwell in the present moment. Out breath, I know this is a precious moment. Do it one more time, and then I'll let you all do it a couple of times to yourself. In breath, I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. I calm my body and my mind. I smile. I dwell in the present moment. I know this is a precious moment. Let you all just keep doing that for yourselves for just a minute or two. As you continue to breathe, just remember that you can take this with you anywhere. And I hope that you are able to bring these moments of peace and quiet into your life wherever and whenever you might need it. Please feel free to open your eyes whenever you're ready. Thank you all.
Okay.
I will pass it back to the group. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Graham. We are now going to turn the floor over to Dr. Dandy, and the floor is yours.
Yay, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Graham. That was lovely. Now I feel all calm and ready. And I will extend a lot of what Dr. Graham was talking about with respect to meditation, the benefits of mindfulness, kind of more generally. And I was asked to talk just a little bit about yoga in particular. And so I am recently a 200-hour certified yoga instructor. And I've been teaching a branch of mindfulness meditation, shamatha meditation, for many years. So I enjoy that, Dr. Graham. Thank you. And so yoga as a practice is more than just the movement that we tend to think of. And then whenever I start talking about the practice of yoga or the benefits of yoga, I do like to first acknowledge that it is a practice that not only predated us, but did not originate in the West. So most of everything I'm going to tell you, with the exception of maybe some modern science that I will throw in because I'm a scientist, originated in Southeast Asia a very long time ago, and before it came to us. So it is very much a borrowed practice. And I like to acknowledge that before I start discussing it and the benefits of yoga. And it's comprised of 8 limbs, so 8 paths. And only one of them mentions anything at all about movement. And even in that, the movement, or asana, is what it's referred to as. And even within that branch, really the movements and the postures and the poses that maybe we would see in a modern day yoga class, there were very few and far between. So I think when it made its way over here into the West, that's when we saw a lot more of the additions that we see today in the vinyasa classes and whatnot. What is talked about a lot within those branches are yoga ethics, are breath work, which is what we call pranayama. And I'm going to post that word pranayama in the chat because I'm going to break it down a little bit for everybody. And pranayama is breath, pranayama is life force. And so we got to work a little bit with the breath, with the meditation that we just did. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And so the other limbs, the other paths also talk quite a bit about meditation and the contemplative side of the practice. And so I'm going to focus on breath work and teaching everybody a 3-part breath technique. It's called Dirga Pranayama. And before I kind of get into the nitty-gritty of that and walk us through the practice, I just kind of wanted to share, related to this practice, what I started thinking about when I was asked to come and talk about self-care, because it's not just something that I can just talk about in passing. It's something that I also try very hard to engage in, right? So we're all trying to just kind of take care of ourselves, especially at this point in the semester. So it's not just you all, it's not just the students, right? The faculty, we're trying to take care of ourselves as well. And what the practice of yoga has taught me, and that I hope it teaches all that kind of run into its path, is that yoga really is about looking inward as opposed to just kind of looking outward for answers. It's about acknowledging where you are, when you are, how you're feeling, what is your state of mind, this idea of checking in, right? So how do you feel? And then the hard part is not judging that. So you're going to feel how you're going to feel. And that just is how it is. And that's where a lot of this mindfulness work comes in. you're just mindful of it. You just acknowledge it, and you allow that to be where you are in that space. And so when I was thinking about this idea of self-care and just kind of ruminating about the word and how yoga translates right into a mechanism of self-care, I really think about it in terms that one of my teachers, Cindy Lee, I think puts very well, this idea of radical inclusivity, that we include all of ourself, right? When we sit on the mat to meditate, or if we're practicing asana or we're practicing breath work, we acknowledge where we are, how we feel, and we do so without judgment, right? We're accepting of ourselves. And not only that, we're listening to ourselves. So again, if yoga is about looking inward and not outward, the analogy I like to think of is if you really care about another person, you care about a friend, you care about a colleague, you listen to them. And that's maybe one of the kindest things you can do, is just to listen to what they have to say. And we don't often turn that around to ourselves, right? We don't often think about, well, what if I just sit and listen to myself and hear what I have to say today about how I'm feeling? And then often, right, maybe you've had a conversation where someone literally just wants you to listen. They don't want you to fix it. They don't want advice. They just want you to listen. And so yoga kind of helps us to be that friend. And so that's the analogy that I like to draw, regardless of the modality in which you're practicing. And so the modality that I kind of want to drive into is this power of the breath, pranayama. You can pronounce it pranayama, which is more how it looks when you look at the spelling. And it depends on lineage and depends on, again, the lineage of where the yoga is coming from, and right, you can pronounce it either way. But prana, if you break it down, that first portion of the word is breath. It's life force. And yama is retention or expansion. So that's kind of where the work piece comes in. So this idea of breath work, you're working with the breath. In some translations, this idea of yama or ayama can also mean expansion of or rising of prana. So this energy or this life force. And breath is kind of underestimated in terms of a tool and a self-care tool. And what's interesting, or I think is interesting, is breath has been studied, right, for centuries. Again, I'm talking a lot about or drawing on these, right, ancient lineages, right, these ancient teachings that were around long before us. And I hope they're around long after us. But we often acknowledge kind of in passing the importance of our breath. So if you're really anxious or you're feeling stressed out, or you see a friend who's feeling that way, we might just say, take a deep breath, right? Like we almost know without knowing that this idea of breath is an important piece, right? If you're stressed out, just take a deep breath. But we don't usually pause and think about why, right? Why are we breathing deeply? Why are we maybe taking, right? We're sighing, right? This exhale. And it's very much interconnected to how we feel. And I think probably the best advice I've ever been given, and I try to harness this a lot, and I think it's very attached to mindfulness, is to feel your feelings and not think your feelings. And maybe just let that settle for a second, because that kind of revolutionized, right, my own self-care routine. Right, with this idea of listening, right? We don't often listen. And when we do, we have these feelings. And they arise in different places, right? Physically, we feel them. And then before we know it, they take us off on the story, right, of why we feel this way. Or maybe we start to ruminate about it and we start to get really anxious and we start to try to problem solve. And we just need a friend to listen, right? We just need to be there to listen. And our breath can help guide us there, right? It can help us be that friend and help us just listen. And it's a really amazingly powerful, beautiful tool, I have found. I hope that you all find something from the practice once we get into that. But I do want to talk just a quick minute too, again, about this power of the breath. And I talked with Dr. Graham about this ahead of time. Well, and actually, before I won't explain it, I'm going to have you guys do a little activity because I feel like that's maybe more meaningful. So if you want to find a comfortable seat wherever you're sitting, if it's comfortable for you, and then if it's comfortable for you, and it feels safe for you, and you're in an environment where you feel comfortable doing this, you can just place one hand over your heart and just take a deep breath in, and then let it out. And in, out. And one more time. And I may be going or taking a leap in asking a bunch of blank screens, because I did this for a whole year, right, in Zoom. Anything that you noticed, you can put it in the chat. You don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to. You can turn just your microphone on. Was there anything about that inhale or that exhale that you noticed?
I specifically noticed like the beat of my heart.
Yeah, can you say more, Brittany?
It was just like when you breathed in and your body kind of like filled, or essentially your lungs filled with air, it felt like your chest kind of like separated. So
Yeah.
like almost like the heart rate, or not the heart rate, but like it kind of faded a little bit. And then as you breathed out, you got closer kind of thing. So it felt stronger on those like exhales.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, right. You became more in tune. You felt closer in contact. Yeah. Yeah. Dr. S saying they felt where their breath was coming from. Person saying I'm like 1/5 more calm. Awesome. Yeah. And Brittany, you had mentioned something. I don't know that whether or not you meant to or you were aware of it. And I think all of this is good. Right, this idea of heart rate, and then you're like, no, right, not speed of my heart. But I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say I think you're telling yourself something, right, about this kind of heart rate. Yeah, tension in the chest between breaths. Yeah, right. I think we're all kind of hinting at this idea of right, your heart rate and how your heart rate changes and the variability in your heart rate as you're breathing. And so what we see in research, so now, right, I'm a scientist, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. And I don't do this kind of research. I'm just an admirer of it. And I read it and I stay up to date on it. So that's my caveat. But there's a lot of really interesting research that's being done showing that on our inhale, right, we have this increase in our heart rate. And we're much more activating our sympathetic or fight or flight response, sympathetic nervous system. And on the exhale, we're activating our parasympathetic activation, our rest and our digest system. And so what yoga can start to help us do is manipulate our breath in a way where we're more in balance. So maybe think about a time where you've been really stressed out, or you've been a little anxious, and you're maybe breathing really shallow, you're breathing up into your chest, and maybe your in-breaths, right, are much quicker. If you think about even something as extreme as hyperventilating. And we're not really giving as much attention to this out-breath, which would calm the nervous system, right? And there's kind of equally interesting research coming out about heart rate variability, HRV, and how yoga may be playing a role in helping to increase heart rate variability, which again is kind of a balancing out of these systems and causing this sense of calm. And it seems really simple, right? Because we're breathing all the time, but we often just allow it to be, it's autonomic, right? Breathing is autonomic. We don't have to think about it. It happens. But something really powerful and I think really beautiful happens when we harness that power and we start to really engage with our breath, feel where it's coming from, right? Are we breathing all up in our chest? And most of us are. And I think, right, when we're sitting in front of our computer all day, right, or we're running from here and there and we're studying for exams, or I'm writing exams, right, we're all up in here and we don't really release, right, all of our breath. So the practice that I want to bring to you all, or to teach you all, is called 3-part breath. It is called Dirga Pranayama, and it begins with what we call belly breath. And I'll walk everybody through it, but I'll kind of tell you where we're going. But it'll begin with breathing kind of deep into the belly and allowing your belly to expand out, almost as if there's a balloon in your belly, which we're not used to doing. So maybe just notice how it feels, right? Let go of the judgment, just notice how it feels when you just breathe into your belly, right? Not up into your lungs, not up into your chest, right? But deeply into your belly. And then the practice will invite you to bring that breath up into your side ribs. And I'm gonna lower this just a little bit, right? So from breathing into your belly to bringing it up to feeling your ribs expand. And then bringing up a little further, and what you have left, letting that settle in your chest, right? On each inhale, and then fully, deeply exhaling. And so I'll have everyone just find, again, a comfortable seated position. And normally I also would close my eyes, but I want to be able to watch, see if there's questions in the chat and things of that nature, watch the time. But if you're comfortable and you're in a place where you feel safe to do so, you can close your eyes. You can also have a soft gaze, and have a straight back, right? So posture is important in terms of not restricting the breath. My child's very excited. I have a 4-year-old who's watching some movies while I do this, so she's excited. But yeah, you find your soft focus, you can find closed eyes, have a straight spine as much as possible. And then hand placement is optional. You can have it on your thighs, on your knees. If it's comfortable, you can place one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest, and that's optional, right? So for some individuals, this is not comfortable, and for some, it just kind of helps them deepen the breath. So that's up to you. We'll begin just by belly breathing. So on an inhale, breathe to expand your belly. Again, the analogy is maybe there's a balloon that you're blowing up. And on your exhale, breathe out fully and think about pulling your navel into your spine. So pull, right, exhale so deeply that you can pull, right, that navel back. Inhale fully. Exhale deeply. Inhale. Exhale. And keep breathing at your own pace. Maybe notice that your breaths become more expansive. Maybe they don't. But just watch your breath. Be that good friend that's just listening. And on your next inhale, breathe into your belly. And then invite that breath up into the ribs. And feel your ribs expand out just slightly. And then exhale fully, again, pulling your navel to spine. And work with that breathing into the belly and out into the ribs. And exhaling fully. Take 5 more breaths in this space. Belly, ribs, and exhale. Belly, ribs, and exhale. And on your next inhale, breathe to expand your belly, ribs, and then last little sip of air up into your chest. Maybe you feel your chest rise. And then exhale fully, all the way out, pulling your navel to spine. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale fully. Take a few more Dirga pranayams at your own pace. And return to your normal breathing pattern. Let go of Dirga. And just notice where your breath is and how you're breathing. And then when you're ready, you're welcome to open your eyes if they were shut, to maybe move around, wiggle a little bit. And then I'll ask, again, I'll be brave and ask for any feedback, how that was, what you noticed, how it felt. Again, you can use the chat. I will not force anybody to put their camera or their microphone on.
I felt myself like relax a lot. Like all of like my tensions kind of went out of my shoulders, and like anything that I was holding in my chest, it all just kind of went away and kind of flushed out. You mentioned that we were like almost getting sleepy. Yeah, like it was.
Yeah. It's a good one. Yeah, Dirga is my go-to. And I tend to do it first thing in the morning. So the belly expanding and then right kind of coming in sharply is most comfortable on an empty stomach. So I'll offer that. I'll offer that up. But yeah, it's a calming breath. It is often shown right when working with people and right investigating this breath work, that it releases tension, or people report that it releases their tension. And really the only precautions, because again, this is portable, just like mindfulness meditation, would be right if you have sinus issues, if you're going right, if you have a bout of bronchitis, if you have an ailment of some kind and it's not comfortable, then obviously you should not do that. You should listen to your body and not do it. But yeah, it's a practice that is intended to be calming. But again, everybody is different. So you have to also allow for that and acknowledge that and how it feels in your body. Did it feel awkward to anybody? Because we often have this idea that like meditation should feel great and pranayama should feel great. It just makes you feel better, right? Like feel better, not necessarily feel better, but like feel better. Like you feel your emotions better. So did it feel awkward at all for anybody?
I would say yeah, because I'm not used to like breathing in like 3 parts. So like it's kind of weird to like take it in those levels.
Yeah, you're being asked to breathe in a way that isn't right our normal. Yeah, for sure. Let's see, yeah, in the chat, it was really weird to be actively working on something. And it really yeah, it's usually autonomic, right? We don't think about it. And I certainly found out while I was learning this practice, just personally, I didn't breathe in my belly at all, right? I was very much a chest breather. And yogis will say, and my teacher taught me this, that if prana, right, is life force, prana is breath, that when you are only breathing up here, only breathing up in your chest, and you're not, right, breathing into your belly, which is awkward, we don't tend to do it, right, often, that you are restricting your life force, right? You're restricting yourself in some way. And I thought that that was just really beautiful, right? A beautiful way to think about it, especially when we don't often just kind of allow ourselves to just breathe into your belly, right? That's just not something that we tend to do. Yeah, but I think it could be really useful and really helpful. Great. I do, and that is what I have. I'll turn it back over. I am going to stick in the chat really quick 3 books, because again, I'm an academic, that I think are just really helpful tools. And some of what I told you is contained in these books. Again, right, I'm not a self-care expert. Most of these ideas are not my own. I'm just kind of taking them and repurposing them. But there are 3 books that I think are related to breath specifically, but then self-care more generally. And so I'll stick those in there if anybody's interested. But yeah, but I hope that everybody found that useful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dandy.
Yeah.
So we've done a couple questions while you and Dr. Graham were speaking, so we can ask those and then we can open up the floor to anyone who has any questions or any comments for either us or Dr. Dandy or Dr. Graham. So one thing we wrote down is, what are some other forms of self-care that you practice other than like breathing and yoga that you think that we could adapt in our daily lives? So again, you can feel free to put it in the chat, unmute yourself. We're just kind of like in a little discussion at the moment.
I'll take it and I'll see if Dr. Graham wants to jump in. So the question was other modes of self-care. So right, other than right, the yoga and the right meditation and breath work. Long walks. And again, it's something that sounds super simple. We have 2 large dogs that require a lot of exercise, but there's something for me, right, that is calming when you're just kind of out by yourself in nature, just walking, detached from your screen or screens, multiple. Yeah, because again, it probably just stems back to this idea of you're listening, right? I'm listening to myself. I'm with myself. I can't really escape myself. So you're just kind of giving yourself that attention. So I would say long walks.
I absolutely agree. Something that I've kind of honed in on myself a little bit, because we've got final exams approaching very quickly, and with gas prices rising, and I'm like, what a great time to walk to class. So I've noticed me sticking my phone in my pocket, putting earbuds in, and just walking. And it honestly is so relaxing. And especially with the weather that we've had the past few days, even in like a colder season, it's great. So I absolutely agree with
Brittany.
Does anyone have anything else that they might want to share?
So I'll jump in, and sorry for the change of scenery. We were driving to take my son to get his COVID vaccine. So that is another form of self-care, is doing the things you need to do to take care of yourself. So go to the doctor, go get those checkups, do all those kinds of things. But that wasn't what I was going to say. What I was going to add was exercise again of any kind. So walking is great, but exercise really of any kind is good. And then also music can be a really great way to take care of yourself. Is, you know, if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, if you need to just take a minute, right? Have a dance break, put on your favorite music and just listen to it. Just focus on the words of the song, focus on the beat, like whatever it is, music can be a really, really healing and powerful tool. And so feel free to take those dance breaks or chill, like listen, veg out to that music. It can be really good for you too.
There's, I love that, Dr. Graham. There's another, I'm gonna put it in the chat. There's another book. It's called Burnout. Okay, Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. And I don't know, Dr. Graham, if you've read that, it's a fantastic book, but it talks about dance breaks. And I really love that, and just moving your body. So I'm sticking that in the chat too.
Any other questions? All right, well, I guess we can wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for coming to our event, Dr. Graham and Dr. Dandy. You guys said some wonderful things.